What is going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve Fall. Welcome back to the show. On today's edition, I'm talking to a women's champion, a 24/7 champion. It's Candice Michelle. How are you doing
I'm
today?
so good. How are you?
I am doing great, and we are on the horizon of WrestleMania. Lots of things are happening, but there's also rumors of things happening, like the all-women's PLE Evolution returning and happened in 2018, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for it to come back, and the rumors are it's going to return. What are your
Awesome.
thoughts on that? Having an all-women's pay-per-view, a PLE, come back to the WWE?
Well, I think it's amazing. However, I was not invited last year, so
That's my next question.
hopefully it's really amazing because I'm invited this year. But anytime the women are doing great in the business, I'm just always applauding them. I've always had that kind of mentality. If the door doesn't open for me, I'm just not meant to go in it in that season. So hopefully if it is returning, that this time the door will be open and I'll be able to return in that season. But that's really exciting. I didn't hear that news. So thanks for sharing that. Last year they did an incredible job, or not last year.
A couple years ago.
Incredible job. So I think bringing it back is kind of a no-brainer.
So you mentioned it for a second, though. Like, did you hear about it before the first time around, and then you were waiting or thinking that maybe someone would call you, then you didn't get a phone call about it?
I think I heard about it when people started posting about it, oh, I'm going to be involved in this. I can't wait to be there. And then obviously when WWE starts advertising it, you just kind of hope to be a part of something like that. That was kind of an incredible opportunity. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't my timing. So looking forward to seeing what they do with the next one coming up.
Of course. And of course, if you have a fantasy opponent, who would it be if you get to choose this time around?
I really feel, God, there's so many great women right now, but I've said this before, and I feel like I can't quite get over the feeling of just something with Charlotte Flair. Like, she's just an incredible heel. So I think that kind of combination, both of us kind of being a little over the top, kind of queen-like, and so kind of like battling that royalty out where she's wrestling royalty. I don't come from any kind of royalty, but my own beingness. And so I think it'd just be a really fun match.
I would love to see that too. And, this coming up with WrestleMania coming up, though, she is fighting Tiffany Stratton for the women's championship. And there's been a lot of heavy comments about two women going at it because they feel like these two aren't matching. They're not clicking. And last week on SmackDown, they actually brought up some personal business about, Charlotte Flair's divorce and how Tiffany Stratton's boyfriend has been in Charlotte Flair's DMs before. Like, there's a lot of personal things happening here. What's your thoughts on using real life situations in a wrestling storyline? Because that can get a little sticky.
Yeah, I mean, but the truth is, it's kind of genius because it really brings out the fire in you. It brings out a side of you that's not choreographed, it's not planned. And these two women are just really great athletes. So I think when it really boils down to it, it's about that performance means more than anything. And then when the fire is added on top of it, it's like, that's when you kind of get those really incredible moments or those times where you just really connect with these people, because so many people in the world go through stuff like that, right? And this business is about really connecting, and how are you going to get through that? And so watching these women on the grandest stage of them all, fight for something more than just the match, it's kind of brilliant.
I love it. Yeah, because online people are just very upset. It's because the idea of wrestling sometimes being too real, and other times they're like, "Oh, it's too fake." Like, pick a lane. There's too many options like that. But of course, with WrestleMania, you also have WrestleCon. So if you want to go see all the wrestlers from the past, the present, the future, all together in one spot, it's WrestleCon, and you will be there. This is next week, folks. Get your tickets, and of course, they can come to you, get a picture, get an autograph. When you go to these events, what's the most common, or I guess what's the first question usually fans ask you?
The first question. Well, the first comment I normally get is, I was their childhood crush. And it's kind of weird because I don't know if I am like convoluted with how old I actually am, but when I look at them, I feel like we're the same age. So like there's this confusion of like, wait, are we in the same? Are you aging me or is this a compliment? I'm like, I'm confused, mister. We look the same age. So that's kind of my first shock. And I know they mean it really well. And it's a really sweet compliment. But the most question is kind of what were my favorite matches, my favorite opponents. Those are probably the two biggest questions I get asked.
I imagine, though, since you bring up you were my childhood crush, that suddenly they bring up, Playboy or centerfolds and things of that nature. Is that brought up often too?
Well, in a very ironic way, they're like, "Oh, my dad has your Playboy," and I'm like, "So what does that mean exactly?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks. I don't know. How do I respond to that?"
Yeah, I can imagine that being because someone's like, "Can you? Hey, we have your Playboy. Thank you,
I'm like,
appreciate it. You still
Playboy to get signed?
I
Where
know,
is
because
your Playboy? How do you know
right.
he has one?
That's true.
There's so many questions attached on my end when somebody says that. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. But it was really funny, Steve. When I do these WrestleCons, I mean, it almost feels to me like I'm going to WrestleMania. Like, I was really thinking about this, like all the same things going on. You want to look your best. You want to try to be in the best shape. You want to have the best outfits, like everything you do when you're actually going to be competing in WrestleMania. It's the same thing with going to WrestleCon. And some of my outfits came in yesterday and I put this on and I'm pretty sure a 46-year-old woman is not supposed to wear this. So maybe I am older than what I think, but I am showing up as my best, hottest self. And so I hope people come out and check it out. It's going to be a really fun time.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because people post pictures of you constantly and like you have a bodysuit on and someone not a bodysuit, but just a full on outfit. And people are like,
yeah,
she hasn't changed. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I wonder if she's reading these comments.
There was the post one time with this 90-year-old woman in this bodysuit all rhinestoned up. And so many people sent that to me. I'm like, that's totally going to be me in my 90s, just rocking it in a hot bodysuit.
That's amazing. Because but I imagine there's more. I feel like, I'm not a woman, so I don't know this, but I feel like probably there's more pressure because they expect you to look like you did when you were on television. I'm assuming, right? So what's that mentality like when you're going to these things? You just told me you're working out, you're trying to look your best, it's like WrestleMania for you. Is there extra pressure mentally or physically on you saying like, well, I need people to think that they're going to see the version they remember me on television?
Yeah, I think there's always some pressure, when you're older, especially when, the current roster predominantly 20 years younger than you, you're going up against these women 20 years younger. However, I've just seen so many people from my era and my time, and I look at all of us and I'm like, wow, you look hotter than you did in your 20s.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know what is in the water, but you're keeping up with all those people on the roster. And so I think it's just that friendly competition, like how good can I be? How can I show up as my best self for everybody? And I see so many people in my genre, Tori Wilson and Trish Stratus and Mickie James, and you're like, damn, they're hot.
Yeah, I do know. I do know.
I mean, I think the 20-year-olds should be a little bit worried about us 40-year-olds,
Well, yeah, because I'll constantly see pictures of, young women in wrestling now and posting like half naked photos. I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, you have a lot of Instagram followers now, but are you going to stay in that shape in 20 years from now? Or is you going to just hope this is what keeps you going the whole time? Like, obviously, I got, hey, let's say it. You look great. Let's just say it. We're going to say it right now. You look great. And so, I look like crap. So
you look awesome.
Well, thank you. And this interview is over. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Steve Bob. No, but seriously, look, I think it happened to Mickie James a few years ago where ageism was brought up on her. And then there was the time she got laid off and they put all of her crap inside of a trash bag and they sent it to her house. I feel like they wouldn't do that to certain people if you were a man or a woman. So it's very strange. I feel like there's always well, we respect women wrestling, but do you really, or do you do it because that's the thing to say? And I wonder if that's the case, how you feel about that.
Well, I mean, obviously it feels so disrespectful when your stuff is shipped in a trash bag, and especially for somebody like her who has poured decades of her life into this business in so many capacities. And then there's the reality of like, it's a business. I remember John Cena actually taught this to me years ago. And he was like, kid, this business runs with or without you. It just keeps going. It doesn't matter if you're here or not. And for us, when we're pouring our heart and soul into it, we feel so connected. It's our family. It's everything. It's so emotionally attached. So when you get that side of, oh, it's a business, you're like, wow, it's hurtful, it's painful. And so I hope that, and I think nowadays, things have been just cleaned up so much, and, this is a new generation. So I don't think things like that would happen nowadays. And everybody kind of learns as they grow, right? Even from the business side of things.
True. That's a good point. You bring up John Cena too, is I was in Toronto and he kicked Cody Rhodes in the lower regions, and he turned evil for the first time since 2003. And we were all going crazy and losing our minds. What are your thoughts on John Cena turning evil on his last year? Because he's retiring December 31st.
Yeah. Most of my time when I got to work with John Cena, obviously he was a face and an incredible face. I remember him trying to turn heel, and then it was like always so hard, for him too, because people just loved him. And I think with his time away from the business and coming back, it's just a great opportunity for him to explore a completely different side of his talent and his gifts, and to go up against Cody Rhodes, also who way back then, like these guys have been in this business for years. I've been out for a large chunk, and to think of like Cody Rhodes just paving this way for years and years and years, and watching him at this level and capacity that he's at, it's actually mind-blowing and such a gift as well to be present from their whole journey. And so I'm really excited for that match for them and happy that they get to go against each other.
It's going to be amazing. And now we have to ask the $1 million question. Who's going to win, John Cena or Cody Rhodes?
I think Cody Rhodes is going to win. What do you think is going to win?
I want John Cena to win just because he would be the 17th time world champion, beating Ric Flair's streak, and it'd be a whole new genre of fans who grew up with him and respect him. Like, you can be a bad guy all you want, but you can also appreciate your body of work. And so I think I want John Cena to win, but also it's like, as a story, we'd like to see the baby face, the good guy defeat the evil, man who's trying to hold him down. So, if I'm putting money, I'm going Cody Rhodes. If I have no money, it's going to be John Cena.
Well, and that's what really makes the best match, right? Because it's like you see the pros and cons for both sides. So you really don't know which way this is going to go, which really makes us also involved in it. And so the booking of this is actually just brilliant.
Oh man, it's gonna be a great weekend with WrestleCon and WrestleMania and so many other things. With John Cena and you were both around during the Ruthless Aggression era. This was after the Attitude Era. Was there ever like a meeting or a sit down with staff and all the employees together going, okay, Attitude Era, we had pimps and porn stars and things of that nature. Yes, we're still going to be a little risque, but we're not going to go with that section of television. Like, was there a conscious decision amongst you and wrestlers and the staff to go, okay, we have to go a different route. We can still be edgy, but we can't have porn stars here anymore.
Yeah, there actually was a sit down. It was a little calmer than how you explained it. It's more of like going from rated R to rated PG. And so, but it was a big shift, and 2 times in my career. One, it was like, really kind of taking the blood and gore out as much as we could, because before that there was a lot of that in the matches. And if you're having little kids watch this and stuff, there was a big shift there. And then with the women as well, we went from being very sexy to, a PG version, like only so much cleavage or only so much skin showing. And so as we're shifting from bra and panties matches, and, how much does a bra show, or but there was definitely a shift in all of that, and a shift in mentality as well, on what you're promoting, who's watching the product, and so definitely was a shift.
Were there storylines that you were pitching during this era? They were like, we can't do that, or oh, that sounds good, but well, you know, what was there? Was a storyline that you ever pitched that someone didn't use at all that you thought like this is a golden opportunity? Why aren't we doing this?
Yeah, my very first thing that I pitched was the orgasmic armbar. It wasn't even a storyline. I literally remember emailing, I think Stephanie McMahon, maybe Hunter. I know for sure Stephanie was on this email, and I didn't know how to pitch storylines. You know, I didn't go to wrestling school. They didn't share that. Just like, if you want to pitch an idea, send it in. And I was like, great, I'll do an orgasmic armbar as my finish. And so that was what I was pitching to them. And now that I look back, you know, as I got more educated in the business, I'm like, can you just imagine what they're thinking when I'm sending this email in? I didn't get a response to that email, by the way. So obviously that never came into fruition, but I thought it was brilliant at the time.
I think the subject line of that email would be very interesting to look at. Go, orgasmic armbar. We're just going to move that into spam.
But, you know, you live and you learn. And so I was very entertaining along the way for people.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's amazing. While you're pitching storylines, though, also on the staff of people putting together storylines, how many actual women were on that staff when you're pitching storylines for, you know, yourself and women in general?
I mean, in my era, there wasn't any, you know, and it's so different from then to now. Like, we had no idea what we were doing on a daily basis. You know, it's like, show up, hopefully you have an outfit or the right stuff for whatever you're doing. There's no preparation. So everything was really on the fly, which really kind of testament for all the talent back then. Now I think it's amazing. You know, they'll be like, oh, next week you're going to do X, Y, and Z. So you can totally prepare and prep and think of the ideas and what are you going to do. And so it's, you know, been a great opportunity to make the product even better. But definitely a shift in that era as well.
Right. Well, because obviously even the days of on the road during a month, because now they are trying to shut down having weekend shows and just have television programming, which means you don't get a lot of ring time, but also your body can last a lot longer in this business. And for you, how many days of the week were you working in the ring in general? Because you're flying back and forth and you're landing. Like, what is the schedule for you Sunday through Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it was like 4 days a week. I think we had 3 house shows and then we do Monday Night Raw. So maybe, 2 to 3 house shows a week and then Monday Night Raw. So, you know, we were working a lot. And then also, you know, that's 200 plus miles between each show that we have to drive. So the time being on the road was, you know, it was a crazy schedule. And it's weird to think of it now where they're not having those house shows. It kind of sounds very luxurious, like, oh, you're just going to fly in and out for TV. But then, like you said, there is that downside of like not getting the reps in, you know, not getting all that extra time in. And I just remember Ric Flair just really sharing with me that the house shows were the bread and butter of the business. Mm-hmm. And I really just had that mentality. Like, we would show up to these house shows, all the superstars would, and we put on the same performance to the best of our ability as we did to TV. But it did help us get that extra time in and built the family part of that business, right? When you're on the road for 3 to 4 days every week, and then the European tours or overseas tours, you really become a family unit. So I think it's a different dynamic, you know, with that in the new era and people, you know, just kind of coming in and going out. So a lot of pros and cons to it.
Right. Especially on the weekends, you would see shows like I would go to with them and you would see, you know, we're all going to do this funny thing where we're running around in circles and we're tripping over the referee. But you're not, that would not be on Monday Night Raw. No. That'd be on a Saturday show. And it's fun and it's exciting. And you bring your family, you bring your kids. Because I have little kids and I bring them to wrestling. You go to a Raw or a SmackDown, they got to wear big old headphones because the fireworks and the loud music. You go on a weekend, it's just music. There's no fireworks. It's just a whole different atmosphere. It's very family friendly, but I get it. It is a business. So if you're trying to make money and you're having Netflix and USA and the CW pay you millions upon millions of dollars, well, are you making money on Saturday and Sunday or are you losing money on Saturday and Sunday? So the business has definitely changed there, but you know, with WrestleCon coming up for you, where is the strangest place, though, a fan has ever asked you for an autograph? Because they'll pay to meet you. They'll come into the show. They're having a good time. I'm imagining when you're on the road is places where you're like, I'm sorry, what are you doing? And why are you asking for an autograph here?
I think maybe like, if a woman asks for like an autograph in the cleavage area, because obviously I'm a woman, so you kind of maybe predict that a little bit more if she's asking a man for an autograph. But one of the coolest things that I have seen with the autographs is, when people come back and they have it tattooed on them, that is just a whole other level of commitment and really their love for this whole wrestling business. And so when I've seen people have my name tattooed, it's like, wow, like this is really a connection that we have with the fans. And it's beautiful to see.
Wow. And before we wrap this up, though, the Hall of Fame is coming up as well. And I feel like they should be calling you someday. How do you feel about that? Because it feels like, you have the attributes.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm just waiting for that phone to ring, so it should ring soon. I think every professional wrestler, hopes that one day they'll be honored to be in the Hall of Fame. And having said that, this year I'm really excited for my friend Michelle McCool to be inducted. I'm also really excited for Hunter. I think we all know he obviously deserves this, but he was just always a really stand-up guy in the business. I felt like he looked after me in a weird sense. And I loved his entrance and obviously his matches. So to see him actually, running the business now and having this moment to really honor his part about being in the ring, I want to be there. I want to see that. And with Michelle McCool, like she deserves it for wrestling, hands down. But I think what people don't really see is like the amount of work that she puts into other people behind the scenes. And since I live in Austin near her, I've just got to know that side of her, and her really just her outreach to people and what she does in her life on a daily basis is something that should be really recognized. And so I'm really excited for her as well. And so I'm excited to go to the Hall of Fame this year, even though I'm not in it. My time will come when it's ready.
Will you be attending Hall of Fame?
Yes, I will.
Amazing. I'll be up there waving down, and you'll be sitting down with the stars.
Oh,
but
yay, awesome.
I'll take a picture. I'll take a picture and text you. Like, I see you. I'm stalking you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm also going to be doing a last minute event on Wednesday, the 16th for Knox Pro. That's Rikishi's promotion that he runs. So I'm going to be showing up there with him and Reno and promoting the event that they're having in downtown Las Vegas. So that'll be really fun.
Man, yeah, I show up Wednesday and I will be there till Tuesday. So
Awesome.
it's gonna be a long time and a lot of fun, a lot of media, a lot of fun. So yeah, my wife, and I'll keep my wife home with 3 kids while I'm in Vegas for a week by myself.
Oh, you must have been a good husband.
When the check clears, everyone is happy. But I gotta say, it is always a pleasure talking to you today. Again, women's champion, 24/7 champion, Candice Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Steve Fault. She's Candice Michelle. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Go to WrestleCon and meet her. Bye bye.